So hi everybody, Irene Pasternack, teaching Feldenkrais with Northwest Parkinson's. Today is going to be an interesting lesson, a little different from other ones we've done, and it has a few benefits. It helps with swallowing, with drooling, with standing up to get out of a chair, and in feeling more upright. So it has some really interesting components to it. But it is a lesson that can be challenging for people. So don't panic in the beginning if the movements I ask you to do feel very strange. By the end, it will begin to make more sense. So let's do a few movements to wake up our sit bones at the beginning. So come and sit toward the front of your chair so that your sit bones are on the edge of the chair and there's air beneath your thighs. So you scoot to the front of your chair. So there needs to be behind your back, if you put your hand on your back and then you go back to your chair, it needs to be at least 6-8 inches back behind you so you're not touching the back of the chair. All right. And shift all your weight onto one sit bone. And come back. And I forgot to do the measurement move, so we'll do that now. Go ahead and stand up just to feel what it's like to stand up today. How much work it was, how easy, how much your legs worked, if you need to do it again to sense. Did you feel like a feather just floating off your chair up to the ceiling, or did you feel like a ton of bricks as you're lifting yourself up, or somewhere in between? And when you sit down, did you plop, kind of fall into your chair, or come gently into your chair? Okay, good. And now swallow and see what it's like to swallow. Okay. And last week we did a lesson where it ended with you put a finger by your temple, and then you moved your head and your hand, sort of both your head and your hand. You're tracing a line here. And see what that movement is like in your body today. Uh-huh. And your finger can actually touch your hair. Mine can't because it'll make the headphones make funny noises. But yeah, just see. Do you more bring your head around your hand? You can leave your hand still and move your head. Or is it easier to leave your head still and move your hand? Okay. These are just some things we'll come back to at the end. Yeah. Alrighty. So now on the front of your chair, on your sit bones, come up onto your sit bone. And we've talked in other lessons of ways to do this. You can push with your other foot to get you up on your sit bone. You can lift the shoulder on the side you're going toward. You can tip your head a little away from the side you're going toward. You can press with the ribs over there. So your weight is all on the side the one sit bone. And then once you're up on that sit bone, go a little forward and backward on it. So you push your belly out and you'll go forward and pull your belly in and you go backward on the sit bone. Okay, good. Stay up there on the sit bone and go a little further as if you were trying to draw a line with your sit bone on the chair, left and right. Mm-hmm. Good. And rest for a minute. Come down off that sit bone. And come up off the sit bone, same sit bone. And draw a circle around your sit bone. And feel your belly, that you can use your belly to help you get around it by when you pull your belly in and when you push your belly out. I have that image of an old-fashioned drill, a hand drill that has the pommel on the top and then a handle and then a curve, and it goes down into the drill. And you drill by taking that middle around in a circle. So it's like you're trying to take that middle of the drill around in a circle so you could drill with your sit bone down into the chair and go the other way, reverse the drill. But exaggerate the stomach movements. So it's almost like you're a belly dancer, taking your belly in a circle. Some of you have probably not tried to be a belly dancer before, to move your belly quite like this. Okay, good. Rest. And rest and see if that sit bone is feeling a little nicer on the chair. If one side feels a little flatter, your feet might even feel different. If you're wearing shoes and you can kick them off for the lesson, that would be good. And now let's go over to the other sit bone and play with all the ways you can get yourself up there. The pushing with your leg, the lifting your shoulder. And there's always, you could just lean over with your spine as a stick, or you can get up there with your spine curved to the side a little bit. And that's going to work better for doing the drill thing. So your head tips back and your weight goes over there. And once you're up on that sit bone, go a little forward and back. And we've played with the sit bone can lead this movement. Your sit bone grabs the chair and pulls you forward, pulls you backward. You could lead with your belly by pulling in your belly, pushing out your belly. Okay, rest for a moment. Come up on the sit bone again and find a way to go left and right over that sit bone. And as you go left and right, try and lead either with your sit bone, so your sit bone grabs the chair and can push you left and right, or your belly can move past your sit bone left and right. And rest for a moment. Come back over that sit bone and make a circle. So you become the drill with your belly is the part that's going around the sit bone. If you find you have balance challenges, this little play of going and doing these circles around one sit bone at a time is something you might want to incorporate into your day. Like if you're thinking, I've been sitting for a long time, I want to get up and walking's a little dicey for you, do some of these circles before you get up and walking will get easier. Okay, rest in the middle. And then we're going to imagine that there's a big 8 lying down on the chair, and you're going to make an 8 by circling one sit bone one way and around the other sit bone the other way. It's like you're tracing in your chair an 8. And I'm seeing two main strategies when I look around. Let's all use the straight stick strategy. So with the straight stick strategy, your head is going to move a lot as you do this figure 8. Everybody try that a little. It doesn't have to be huge. You'll get dizzy if you do it huge, okay? And then the other strategy is this side bending strategy where your head stays in the middle the whole time you're going around, but it tips from left to right. Let's stop trying that for a sec. And everybody tip your head so your ear gets closer to your shoulder. And where do you feel your head begins? Where's the focus of the tipping? Is it somewhere in your neck? Is it somewhere in your chest? Try putting it in different places in your body. So your spine has 24 vertebrae. It could bend up here, it could bend down there, it could bend lower. Where do you bend to tip your head? Just invite some different bends. And then try that on the other side. Think of your ear coming down toward your shoulder and trying to sense where that bend happens. Our vertebrae are like spools of thread. So when it bends, they open on one side and close on the other. You can visualize that and trying to invite different places. Okay. And then go back and forth a few times, tipping your head, and see if your shoulders are moving with your head. That's one way to do it. But if your shoulders can move the opposite way your head is tipping. So it's like you think about pushing the wall of your room with one shoulder and then tipping away from the wall. Or you push your shoulder into the wall on the other side and tip your head away from it. And with that, a little easier head tip, try this going around, taking your belly as the drill handle and making an 8 around your sit bones. You could close your eyes and look for the delicious, look for pleasure in this movement. And the pleasure is going to come with the timing of the side bending, the timing of when you pull your belly in and push your belly out. Okay. And then stop in the middle. And just shift your weight to one side. And then shift your weight to the other side. See if it's gotten a little easier for that weight shift to happen. The one thing we never want to do is get stuck in the middle, because when you get stuck in the middle, you can't lift a leg and you can't take a step, and that's when you get the freezing kind of, or the sense that your torso is ahead of your body, of your legs as you're moving. All right. So now we're going to start playing with the new movement of today, which is a pecking movement, and it's a bringing your chin forward. So imagine you had a big beard right on the tip of your chin, and somebody was pulling your beard forward. Try and make that little movement of taking your chin is going to come further away from your chest. Okay. And put your hands on your lower ribs in the front. And see, when you reach forward with your chin, do your ribs come forward too? And you can do this with the ribs. You can kind of take everything forward so that your hip joints are closing a little bit as you come forward. Or you could leave your ribs still and try doing it just with your chin. It's a strange little motion. Okay. And rest for a moment. Now, I think since most of you are looking at the computer screen, there's probably a table or counter in front of you. If you have a keyboard, you might need to push it a little bit out of the way because you're going to come down and lean on your elbows on your surface there. And you don't need to see what's happening for this, but you're going to lean on the whole length of your forearms, on both forearms. Leave your forearms pointed straight ahead, palms down. And in that position, lower your head so you're looking at the ground. And you might find if you pull your belly in and roll your pelvis a little, you can look at the ground more easily. So you're trying to round your spine. And in that position, imagine your chin got heavy and you're trying to let it come down toward the floor. You could even imagine that there's a rubber band between the point of your chin and the floor, and it's pulling your chin down and then releasing, and pulling down and releasing. And this may feel possible, or it may feel like right now my head just doesn't do this. Just notice what it feels like to try. Okay, and then come back up. And then come back, make sure you're in your chair in front, at the front of the chair so there's room behind you. And take one elbow and try and touch the back of the chair. And I'm looking around, there are lots of different strategies for doing this. So one elbow comes back. Okay. So one strategy of doing that is as your elbow goes back, if you take your other shoulder forward, try doing that. You take your other shoulder forward so your whole torso turns. Okay. And some of you, as you're doing it, your head is going too. So it lets everybody do that. You turn your whole torso and you turn your head. And you might find that when you turn your whole torso and your head, your sit bones move in your chair, and one slides forward and one slides backward a little bit. And that makes it easier to touch the chair with your elbow. Okay, good. Now leave your head facing straight ahead and just turn the shoulders under you. So your sit bones might still move a little, but you leave your head behind. So look straight at the screen. Good. Okay. Now, here we're using our chest like it's one board, like it's a straight line across. And when we're turning, one side goes forward, one goes back. But it's also possible to fold right at your spine. So leaving one shoulder forward, just take the other shoulder backward and to touch the elbow. And you might not be able to touch the chair, that's fine. It's just going in that direction. But feel how that's a different movement. And you could use your head with it. You could turn your head and your shoulder, leaving your other shoulder still, and feel that little sense of folding across your back. If you were a bird, you'd be flapping one wing behind you. Okay, good. And then leave your head in the front and just do the arm. Okay. And now try that pecking motion again of bringing your beard, your chin forward. And see if something is a little different on the side we were just reaching back with the elbow. If this movement is beginning to be a little bit possible on one side. And it's that sense of a rubber band pulling you forward, and then the rubber band eases and your chin comes back to neutral. But there's a little sense of folding right around the spine. Okay. And while we're a little lopsided like this, try swallowing. And see if you had food in your mouth, would it slide down one side of you a little easier than sliding down the other? Okay, let's play with the other elbow. Bring it back toward the chair. And see first, what's your default strategy? If you think I wanted to scratch my elbow on the chair, how would you bring it back there? And once you get it back there so that it touches the chair, go up and down a little bit, just gently. And come back. And let's try the whole body strategy where you move your sit bones. One shoulder comes forward, one goes back, and your head turns. And when you turn with all of yourself, there's that sense of, oh yeah, it's pretty easy to find the back of the chair with the elbow. And there's no strain in the shoulder because there's no shoulder motion. Your body is moving your shoulder. Okay. Now leave your head and eyes pointed forward and do that body motion without your head and your eyes going. So your sit bones are turning, you're sliding your sit bones in your chair. Your sternum is pointing to the side. You might find your feet doing something to help you make this movement. Good. And now try leaving the other shoulder still and just taking this one shoulder back to elbow the chair. There's that sense that your back, in backs, we're used to rounding our backs, but here we're folding our back the other way, as if you were, I'm just, no, I can't visualize how to do that with the thing, but you're folding right around your spine. Okay. And now take your head with your elbow, so look toward the back. Even though the other shoulder stays pretty still, your head can move. Or you can leave your head forward and just do that motion. Okay. Rest for a moment. Now, you could take both shoulders back at the same time toward the chair. And just experiment with that. Be gentle with yourself as you're doing this. So it's as if you're pushing your sternum forward. And it might be easier if you took your hands and as you go back, I'm going to stand a little, let your hand go out like this. So as you go back, you face your palms to the front of the room. And begin to sense your sit bones. If you bring your palms together in front of you, you can roll behind your sit bones and look down. And if you bring your elbows are your sides, your palms go out away, there's a way you can come in front of your sit bones. You push your belly out, arch your back a little, and that allows the shoulders to close in the back. And when you go forward and touch your hands together, your shoulder blades widen. And then as you arch, come forward, and try and fold in the back, both shoulder blades move both down toward your bottom and toward each other, toward your spine for this folding. Okay, rest for a moment. For those of you who have been asking for posture lessons, this is it's a really important part for getting your head balanced on your body. So now, again, sitting at the front of your chair, lean your hands on the back of your chair. And you can do this in two ways. You could really lean on the hands, or you could just have them there for support. And for this, just have them there for support, but don't really lean hard on them. Okay. And in this position, let your head tilt back a little bit. And then somebody pulls your chin forward. That rubber band goes forward and up a little bit, a little toward the ceiling. And feel as your chin goes forward, you fold more in that spot between your shoulder blades. And as the rubber band loosens to your chin, that area flattens out a little bit. Just be really gentle with yourself. For most of us who spend a lot of time sitting, these muscles take a moment to figure out how to engage. Good. Let it go. Just sense yourself in sitting. Close your eyes for a moment. Sense how tall you feel. Your sense of uprightness. All right. We're going to come back down on our elbows. So get yourself arranged so you can come down on your forearms. And we're going to add something that, depending on your setup, might be a little challenging, which is to take one arm. One arm is you're resting on your forearm straight in front of you, and the other arm is reaching long. So, but still as much of it as possible leaning on the surface without pressing on your keyboard and typing some strange characters. So you're in this funny, little bit twisted position. Your head and eyes will probably be looking toward the arm that's on the forearm, and the arm that's long, that ear will be closer to your table. And in this twisted position, begin imagining there's a rubber band between your chin and the table. The chin and your counter. And just imagine that rubber band tightening and pulling your chin down and then lifting back up. If you can, let that arm that's long rest on a surface in front of you. If you don't have a table, you could do this on your own legs, where you're resting one arm, the forearm on your leg, and the other one, your elbow on your knee, as far forward as you can go. Just enough so that you have that little bit of a twist towards you. And you're trying this pecking motion with your chin. Okay, good. Come up to sitting. Swallow. And see if one side is swallowing better than the other. And then try this little beard forward and back motion. Now the rubber band is right to your screen and back. Maybe up a little bit, like at the top of your monitor is where the rubber band is connected to your chin. And see if one side responds a little easier than the other. If that sense of folding the shoulders back happens easier on one side. Okay. And then get in the opposite position. So the other arm is elbow to hand resting on your leg or on your table. And the other arm is stretched out long in front of you so that you're facing the arm that's just on the forearm. And in that position, begin to let your chin be pulled down to the table a little bit, and then let it come back up. And feel for the sensations of where do you fold in your back as you do that. How can the middle of your back sink forward as your chin goes forward? Okay. And then come back up to sitting. And try taking your chin forward again. See if now there's something you can feel in the folding on the other side. There's some way that the ribs have to move in order to do this. Our ribs are like a bucket handle attached, and it's just a strange little motion right in the joints there. Okay, and swallow. See if the food's going down the other side a little easier in the swallow. Okay. Now sit so your knees are wider than your feet, and your feet are resting on the pinky toe edge. So if it was your hand, it would be here, but your knees are wide and spread apart. Put your elbows and your whole forearms on your legs. And in that position, hang your head forward, pull your belly back, and try this pecking. As if the only way you could eat was by lowering your mouth to the food dish like a chicken or like a dog or a cat. If you have a pet, after this lesson, watch them as they go down for their food. Watch how they lower their head and bring it back. Rest for a moment. Bring your feet back under your knees. Then we're going to imagine something. And I want you to imagine that somebody punches you in the stomach. And as they punch you in the stomach, how does your body respond to that punch? So your head could look down at the floor, or you could do this chin forward motion as you punch. Try leaving your face square to the screen and reaching for the screen as there's a punch and you fold to get out of the way of the punch in the middle. Good. So I'm teaching you useful skills in case you get punched in the stomach. But it does help you find that head motion. Okay. Put your hands behind the chair again. And let your head tilt back even a little further. And this is going to be based on your comfort, how much this is possible. But the more you press your sternum forward, the more your head can go backward. And then once it's backward, imagine the rubber band to the ceiling, kind of to the junction between the wall and the ceiling, and let your head pull forward as the rubber band tightens, and then relax back as you loosen your rubber band. Yeah. It's interesting watching people are being able to take their heads back a little further. That's great. All right, let it go. And let's put the hands on the ribs again, the lower ribs. And now reach forward with your chin with this little pecking motion. And notice, are your ribs moving forward? And a few times deliberately move your ribs forward as you peck. And then a few times deliberately leave your ribs still as you peck. Okay. And scoot your chair back so it's not pressed right up against your table, because we're going to work on sitting to stand for a moment. And do just the first motion of taking your chin a little forward and feel what happens in your sit bones as you reach forward with your chin. And feel how there's a sense of your buttocks, they spread a little bit and the sit bones come forward onto that flat surface. So if you keep reaching forward with your chin, you might find yourself just coming right up to standing. So you reach forward with the chin. All right. I'm seeing some people struggling a little with coming up to standing. So let's review some of the other pieces and then we'll come back to this chin thing. So with one hand, put your hand as if you were putting it in your back pocket, but you're on top of the pocket, and you slide it under until you can find your sit bone. And then with the other hand, reach from between your legs to reach that same sit bone. And we've talked about what the sit bone needs to do as you stand up. If you slide the sit bone backward, you'll be able to lift your bottom off the chair. But if you bring that sit bone a little bit forward, you'll feel like you suddenly weigh as much as a car. It's like you can't lift. But if you swing that sit bone backward, then it becomes easy to lift your bottom and then you can unfold. And try it on the other side. You can find that sit bone, reach in with both hands to hold it, and then try pulling it backwards, and it's kind of backwards at a little outward angle. And you pull it out and like that, out and wide, and your bottom just pops up off the chair. The problem most of us have when standing up has gotten hard is that we try to bring our sit bones forward too soon, and they have to go backward to counterbalance. When they go backward, the head goes forward. So you could try just coming up an inch or two off your chair by bringing your head forward, your sit bones backward, and then coming right back to the chair. And this process of bringing the head forward and the sit bones backward, if you leave your head very still on the spine, you just leave your head long, it's not so easy to get the sit bones to go backward. But if you do this little pecking, as if you could put your hands up, make a bowl of water, and lick with your tongue. And then put the hands down and lick that imaginary bowl as you're trying to stand up. And feel how your bottom spreads and gets wide and lifts up easily off the chair with that. So it's a strange movement to get up. I wouldn't do this in public, but it's fine in the class of the, like you're trying to lick the screen in front of you. And the next time you're standing, stay standing. And just feel what it feels like to stand up, your sense of height, of presence. If you were going to go, hello world, my name is, what it would feel like. And everybody is muted, so go ahead and try that. Say, introduce yourself. You're talking to a group, and that sense of presence. And do a little experimenting with that peck and the unpeck. So our body needs to have that full range of motion for standing. And try swallowing while you're standing. And then try that movement that we played with at the beginning where you put your finger on your temple and you're moving your head around your finger. And feel how this pecking motion is part of it. And of course, I know that for some, there's at least one person who's had some fusions in her back, which is going to make some of these motions a little smaller, a lot smaller, but still there's a little bit of movement that can happen there. Let's see, has that gotten a little easier to do that? It's as if your head goes down to your chest and you can move your head in a circle. All right, come and sit down for a moment. When I was preparing this lesson, I found a wonderful video that I want to share with you for a moment. All right, so do you see a picture of a chicken and a piano? Yeah, all right. All righty. Just be glad you have hands. But if you want to practice this motion, you could pick out a tune with your nose on your piano. But it is a movement that, chickens do it, dogs and cats do it as they're eating, and people do it as every time we're getting up to stand, and every time that you swallow. If there's a little bit of that motion in the swallow, it keeps the swallowing working. So swallowing is one of the later symptoms that develops in Parkinson's, but working on your mobility in this part of the chest is what will prevent that symptom from happening for you. It's when we lose our chest mobility that swallowing and drooling tend to happen more. So that is today's lesson on pecking. And I'd love to hear comments, thoughts, questions. So just unmute yourself and.
It's pretty subtle movements.
It is this. It's that folding backwards is what is. And so if you want to practice this one, practice it with the elbow. Come sit on the front of your chair and that elbow back. That's kind of the least stressful way to begin to get the mobility that then the head can protrude and unprotrude. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's subtle, but like I can see you even through Zoom when you're doing it. And then pull your chin back in and feel how the back of your neck gets long, and push it out and feel how that gets short back there. You just want to have that whole range of motion in there. I think sometimes subtle means unfamiliar. It's like I've never really played with this concept before. Most of us haven't, but it's anybody feel just like taller, more upright after doing this? Yeah. So we want to keep that mobility in there. Yeah, Keith.
Oh, no, just going on to changing your screen.
Okay. Did anybody notice differences in their swallowing as they played with this? Like where one side got easier or?
Right side got much easier.
Cool. I when I was first getting started as a practitioner, I taught a class on swallowing, and I had one man who was really having major problems. It was taking him about 6 minutes for every bite to get down. And that was an in-person class, so I served ice cream at the end, and we could see he could get the ice cream swallowed in like 10 seconds instead of 6 minutes of going. So some of this lesson, it's useful for now for coming up to stand, for your tallness, for your presence, for your balance, and then keep it in your pocket to play with again down the road. If you ever have trouble with swallowing, know that it's relearnable how to swallow, and that this is the way to work on that. So any other comments or requests for next time for what to focus on? Movements that are being challenging for you?
Finding that I find it difficult when I'm out walking, which I do daily, to keep my eyes going straight forward rather than looking at the pavement.
Okay.
I wonder if we can get some help with that.
That's definitely something we can help with. Yeah. Anyone else have something that's been bugging them this week that, boy, it'd be nicer if this was easier? Barbara. Oops, you're muted still.
Tied in with what he said, when I'm walking, I miss being able to look around me more because of my sense of imbalance or concerns. It kind of restricts the pleasure of taking a walk.
It's I've been going out on the Burke-Gilman and Sammamish trails a lot, and I notice with bicyclists who are sitting in that funky head down, neck torqued up position, that like they don't even smile because their whole self is engaged with keeping themselves upright on the thing. And so been playing with ideas for that. I definitely can make a lesson out of that one of how do you have the mobility of your eyes while you're moving. Yeah. I kind of my goal and when I'm out skating or bicycling is how many people can I get to say hello and acknowledge that there are other human beings going by. Even if we have masks on, we are still human. Anything
Yeah, to
else?
be able to smile with this part of your face would be nice.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, Irene.
I have another lesson on just that, on how to keep your eyes smiling, which is a lovely thing. How many of you feel like that symptom of having the Parkinson's mask of like your face has gotten less mobile? Okay, so we'll work on that some too in the next couple lessons, because it's another thing that is by playing with it in the Feldenkrais way, we increase the connections so that you can sense what you're doing more and have more control over your face, which is lovely.
Great.
Alrighty, so that's it for today. I'll see you all on Thursday.
Thank
Have
you
a
very
good couple
much.
days. You're welcome. Bye.
Thank you, Irene.
You're
Thanks so
welcome.
much.
Thanks now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you,
you.
Irene.
Bye.
You.